Greetings and welcome to another episode of The School of Life. Today, I would like to reason about being the author of your own story. I realize that many people feel that life is not in their control as much as they would like it to be, and they feel like either they are fatalistic as far as everything is determined for them or things just happen, and other people feel sort of compelled to be in charge of their own life and accept the decisions that they're making and be responsible for the choices that they're making. I tend to be in the latter group. I tend to feel that I have a lot of responsibility with the way I'm living my life, the choices that I make, and the actions I choose to take. And I don't believe that stuff just happens necessarily, although sometimes things do just happen. I don't believe that it's out of my control. I don't believe that my story has been scripted by some higher power or by the universe or by fate. I believe that I have some level of control of the story that I choose to write for myself. And as the main character, I want to make sure that I'm a happy protagonist rather than a sad or disturbed or challenged protagonist. And my story is not a drama story, my story is a success story. That being said, as the author of my own story, I choose to put myself in a great light because I feel the light that I want to have around me should spread to the people that are all around that are taking in this story, that are also sharing the story with me, and who compel me to write the story. My story oftentimes has to do with contribution, and I feel like part of the light that I share as the author of my story is to make a contribution to the community that I live in and to the people that I'm around in the given moment of every day, and to make sure that my life is flowing solidly, that I'm actually like very happy and feeling fulfilled within my life. As far as being the author of your own story, when you're thinking about how you are as the protagonist, as the number one character in your story, the character that should matter most, you should be thinking to yourself, how do I feel fulfilled? What is the part of my life that really is fulfilling? And how can I dedicate more of this story, more of my life, to this fulfilling nature of my life rather than the things that are detracting from that, such as work, unless you really enjoy your work, which I hope you do, and all the other the toils of life. I think that it's really important to find in yourself the time, the opportunity to do the things that are very fulfilling and let that be a primary focus of your life rather than a secondary thing or something that you're working so hard for. For many years, I worked really hard just to be able to pay to play music. And that's been great, except for I don't think that's the way I really want it to be. I feel like what I really want it to be is I want for music to help pay me and help to afford my lifestyle so that I can really just enjoy my life of playing music and mix it with my mountain biking and my yoga and all the other things that are important to me and spending time in my garden. So I'm finding ways to reduce the costs of my living. I'm also finding ways to have music pay for my lifestyle a little bit more so that I can enjoy more of the lifestyle around music that I want to be enjoying and spend less time focusing on working for money and chasing the almighty dollar that I don't believe in. That being said, this past weekend I was invited to Reggae on the River by Reggae on the River. Um, I worked last year as a volunteer and within one day found myself promoted to the greatest position at Reggae on the River, working as backstage security EMT, emergency medical technician, in the photo pit. So I was there basically to help people to have a good time. I love to get paid to help people to have a good time. I usually do that as a volunteer, and so like I said, I started as a volunteer, and before I knew it, I was being paid to be in the position that I most want to be in, and it's something that I do as a service to the community that's around me in the moment. And at that particular moment, I happened to be at Reggae on the River. So here I am on the other side of the fence from where I normally would have been, and I'm now in the photo pit getting paid to actually be there making sure that people are having a good and safe time and not hopefully jumping over the fence and trying to clamber up onto the stage. As the author of my reality and my own story, I changed the story from the way it had been and turned it into something that was much more gracious. They had hired 12 people from Oakland who came and stood there and kind of bulldogged the crowd with their tasers and their mace and their batons and their badges and all this kind of stuff in our all black outfits. and they would stand there with their arms crossed, just glaring at the audience, causing the audience to want to come over the fence and test to see if they were really as tough as they seemed like they were. And of course, within a few hours, it was very evident to the people of Reggae on the River that they didn't want that energy there, and they let them go and put me, one person, in their place. And we never had any more problems after that. So they have now granted that position to me for life, basically, because they see how I operate. And how I operated was I would go to each of the people in the crowd along that front fence during the in between while the bands are setting up, and make sure that everybody that was on the front line was having a fun time, that they were in good shape, that they felt cared for, that they had earplugs if they needed earplugs, that they had water if they needed water, and that they also had my back to make sure that I would have a good time, so I didn't have to be security as much as I was just being an EMT and a guide to how to enjoy yourself at the reggae festival. Anyway, needless to say, I wrote my own story in that regards because as somebody who is valuable in the community of Reggae on the River and the world in general, my EMT skills and my intention to help other people to have a good time and to feel safe and to feel protected put me in that location. My attitude about being kind and gentle and being a guide for how people should really be enjoying themselves, which basically meant me dancing and smiling and having a good time, and just kind of keeping a half an eye on the audience, making sure that balls weren't slamming into the camera people, and that nobody was jumping over the fence, basically allowed me to be exactly where I wanted to be at Reggae on the River. And that's just a small example of being the author of your own life. I feel like any situation that you are in, you can put yourself where you think that you belong if you go with the right intention and you're not trying to just bully people around, but you're going with the love of your heart and stepping into that role and showing that you are valuable in that role. And so, anyway, I would say that overall, anything that you do in your life is a choice that you get to make, unless you've been incarcerated. Of course, that was a choice you made before you were incarcerated, so we won't go there. Uh, but anything that you choose to do in your life is, in fact, your choice. And you wake up in the morning and you get to make choices. You can choose to be pessimistic or optimistic. You can choose to be happy or sad. You can choose to be angry or delighted, elated. And, you can go out into the world and cast your light, or you can hide in the shadows and feel sorry for yourself. Anyway, as the author of my own story, I have chosen that I'm going to bring light into the world every day. If no matter what happens, if I'm given a day of life, I promise to Jah and to all who are witnesses that I will do everything in my power to make at least one person, if not many people's lives better. That's my choice as the author of my story, is that I would like to make that contribution. When you think about who you are, which character you are as a character in your story, you are a protagonist in your own story. Think about what it is that you want to do with your life, how your story wants to be written, and how you want to be remembered. Anyway, hope you found this video valuable. If you did, click like or leave a comment down below. If you'd like to see more videos of this nature, you can find my channel on YouTube here. My name is Burton Eubank, and I thank you for watching. Bless.